You're listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast, where you'll learn actionable steps to help you find your first or next real estate deal. We'll deep dive into current strategies and show you how to become a deal finder in your market today.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Deal Finders podcast. Today's episode is incredible. We got a friend of mine, Adrian Smude, who is the mobile home guy, but he's not going to talk all about that. He's going to tell us why you might not want to listen to your banker. And you're going to want to know what he's talking about and who you should listen to instead. All right, so let's get to it. All right, guys, welcome back to the Deal Finders podcast. And I'm so excited today to introduce you to a good friend of mine. We've met a few times through the real estate networking groups that we're in. And so now he's here for the podcast to help talk to you guys about mobile homes. This is Mr. Adrian Smude, and he's the guy I would call if I had mobile home questions, but he does so much more than that. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Adrian, give us a quick rundown of who you are, where you're from, and then let's talk about some deals. So who are you?
Andrew, thanks for having me on here. As you said, I'm Adrian Smude. I am from Central Florida, in between Tampa and Orlando, in a little town called Plant City. We are the winter strawberry capital of the world. And I grew up here. I'm a native to Florida, so that's a kind of a rare breed down here.
Yes, it is.
How did I get in real estate, though? I was a tenant. So I lived in a home, and I was a really bad tenant, the person you don't want to rent to. We had spaghetti wrestling parties, mud wrestling parties. We parked a motorcycle in the living room. That's all for another day to talk about all those fun stories.
Another podcast in itself.
Yeah. But the reason I bring all that up is because I had a problem. We were being evicted again. Now, this is like 20 years ago. And I had a person in my life that said, it was a mortgage broker. He said, why don't you buy a house? So I didn't know what I was doing. I bought a house at 20 years old. And then I rented it to the same friends that helped me get evicted. And I lived for free. And that was just a game-changing moment in my life once I realized that. I didn't realize in the moment how awesome it was. And fast forward a few years, I lost my second home as a short sale. I bought it wrong. I was renting it wrong. I was only listening to the banks. I didn't have any outside influence from the investor community. Fast forward more years, I got back into the real estate world, and I ended up at a REIA. And that's where I really started learning what the banks weren't telling me.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with them. I eventually got into the mobile home world after having some rentals at single families. But once I tasted the mobile homes, the cash flow, I've shifted all of my business over to single unit mobile homes with the dirt. So a homeland package. So I own the dirt and the home, and it's one unit. It's not a big park or anything.
Yeah.
And I rent them out. And that's my main business today.
Yeah. Dude, that's incredible that you just flew right over the fact that you said spaghetti wrestling, okay? This is not that podcast, but you just roll through it like, oh yeah, normal thing. Just we had spaghetti wrestling and motorcycle in the front yard, front living room, not the yard. Yeah. First of all, so we can back this up for folks that are listening to this podcast, generally people that are trying to get started, get their first, second deal, but they're looking for financial freedom through real estate. And so we like to help them find those deals that'll get them there. So in the beginning, what did you have a job? You were 20 years old. What year was this? Was this pre 2008-ish?
Oh, yeah. So it was 2000. I'm bad at my numbers. 2003, I think it was.
Yeah. So,
something like that. I timed the market pretty point on, but the opposite you're supposed to. I bought my second house at the top of that last market. You're talking about 2008, and I sold it almost at the bottom of it at about a 50% loss, that short sale I mentioned. But what did I do for a living? I worked at Walmart at the time. I've had very few real jobs. I'm putting quotes for the people that are just listening. I've done a lot of contract work and different fun jobs over my time, but very few steady things that the banks like, which ended up being a blessing between that and that short sale because it made me have to learn this outside world. the non-bank world, which is one reason I ended up at REIA. And like I said, I just fell in love with people instead of banks.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just want to put that out there so people, you can get a mortgage. It was probably much easier then.
Oh yeah.
It's still possible to go out there and get a mortgage. And you mentioned something that I don't think I've ever heard anybody say or articulate this way, but it makes so much sense, is don't listen to the bank. When you had a mortgage broker friend, you probably weren't the right person to get a house that first time, but you had tenants to help pay for it, right? If you would have looked at your income versus the cost of that house, probably wasn't correct, but you had a mortgage.
You're being very generous, Andrew. It was not correct.
I don't want to speak too harsh, but your financials working at Walmart at 20 years old probably did not support buying that home, right? But that
Correct.
banker put you in there, and you had tenants. Thankfully, you had tenants. You had roommates that paid the bills, right? Fast forward a couple years later, house probably you had to pay more for. Again, a banker put you in, and what happened? You lost it, right?
Yeah. And I was renting it out by the room. So the whole house hacking thing, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I was renting by the room, which would be, I would say, equivalent to the Airbnb world today, where you're maxing out the dollars for that home. It's more than a single family.
Yeah.
And I was still losing a little bit every month with that maxing it out.
Yeah.
But the plan was in a few years, you refinance.
That was the plan. That's what the banks told you. So,
Yeah.
I love that you said that. Like, you can't. We were groomed. We were taught as we grew up. Go to the bank. Listen to the bank. The bank knows what to do with your money. And now, as I look at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, why would I put my money in their account, their savings account, for them to lend it out, and they give me 0.001, and they're giving it to someone else and making 5-6%. And that's just another piece of it. But they also give you advice and give so many homeowners advice or home buyers advice that didn't pan out in 2008. So.
And, I'll go in their defense a tiny bit. They do have some good advice, but don't do like I did. At least go and get a second and third opinion, which is one of the many reasons I always keep going back to why I love REIAs.
Yeah.
I love the meetings because I can go and ask people that I build relationships. Like, hey, does this sound legit what the bank is saying? And you have the people in the business a long enough time. They're like, I've seen this story before. Here's how it usually plays out.
Yep.
And it could be good. It could be bad.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I was going to ask you. So thankfully you made it to a REIA, right? And that you just explained kind of how that changed your viewpoint, right?
Yeah. I love them because I get that information, but I build bonds and friendships. And now when I have a problem, I don't have to go and search. I don't have to go on online forums. And I do that sometimes still.
Yeah.
But I can go to someone. I know people at my REIAs, the local ones, and then now all over the country. But when it's a local issue or like, hey, I really don't know this street, I can usually find someone I know that owns in that area. And they can tell me, oh, yeah, this is the type of quality.
Yeah.
Those bonds and information, you can't learn anywhere else.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we have our local meetup, and you were so gracious to come and speak, and everyone loved it. They were like, who's that guy again with the yellow shirt? So everyone loved
You got a fun group.
Yeah, we had fun. And so I am right there with you, man. That's the local meetup, our Deal Finders live here in our market, but they're everywhere, right? There is a local meetup somewhere near you. If you were trying to find a deal or you're already in this business, you got to get in and meet people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell me, because we like to give some tips and some steps, some actionable tips that people can take. You're the mobile home guy. That's what I think of you for. You wrote the book on it, right? Somewhere. There we go.
How to buy mobile homes.
So tell me about the first mobile home house or deal that you found. How did you find it?
Well, let's go ahead and say I've already owned about a handful of single family homes. I'd done a little bit, but I still didn't know anything about mobile homes. I was switching to that niche. Sorry, I was entertaining that niche. How about?
Yeah.
Because the seasoned investors had talked about it, and I had that fear of that short sale. So I was a little more cautious. I'm at my REIA. I'd made a friend at the REIA, Jessica. And one of the nights, Jessica's like, my broker has someone that needs to sell their old mobile home. Are you interested?
Okay.
I said, sure, I'll go look at it. I went and walked it with them. It was a 1965 single wide. It essentially had everything wrong that people would tell you don't buy.
Okay. Yeah.
It had an addition to it. The septic was underneath the back porch. One of the bedrooms, you had to walk through a bedroom into another bedroom. It's a 1965. Like I already mentioned that. Like,
Yeah.
people don't buy those.
No.
This is a scary thing. Why would you ever buy this, Adrian? I was uncomfortable being comfortable at that moment in my life. I lived in a nice house. I have a good, decent life, but I wanted more. I wanted that freedom, and I knew there was more, and I didn't want to compromise my integrity again with the short sale. I didn't want to ever put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
So the numbers looked pretty good of what I could buy it for, rent it for, and I'll get into those in a second. So I decided I am going to buy this with the rest of my savings and either make it and do really well, or I'm going to splat and have a big fail.
Yeah.
I didn't tell my wife at the time that this was the plan, but I had read about so many super successful people had that big story. And I said, I'm either going to invoke that to happen or I'm going to do really well with it. Luckily, the really well worked out.
Yes.
So I bought it for about $16,000.
Wow.
I made some mistakes because I didn't get any real coaching on it. I just kind of went and did it. I talked to some of the seasoned guys and girls, made some mistakes, but I ran it for $475 a month. Like, we don't really need a calculator to realize, your face is showing it.
Yeah.
That's good enough numbers. Like, you can do that on a napkin. So, of course, I went and bought more because, this was working.
Yeah.
And I kept doing it over and over because I realized I stumbled into this gold mine. So I started selling off these site-built homes that this time I was in the way, or I was going with appreciation. So I had some equity. So I got lucky. I got unlucky the first time, and I got lucky the second time.
That's right.
But that's how I just started buying them, and not many people were doing it. There's less people in that niche, so I didn't have to do as heavy marketing. I didn't have to compete with as many people with it.
Yeah. So there's a lot there, and I want to just kind of go back to the beginning and highlight the fact that you didn't pay for marketing. The way you found that deal was talking to people, introducing yourself, meeting people at the local meetup, and just telling them that you're interested. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm buying. Or you probably, I don't know if you said mobile home yet, but you said, I'm looking for something, and she brought it to you, right? So, guys and gals, if you're listening to this, that is literally step number one to being a deal finder, is going to the meetup and telling people, I'm looking for a deal. I'm looking for something to buy. Come to me, let me know, call me, text me, whatever it is. Let me look at it. All right. Because for you, it may have been completely wrong for everyone else, but it was perfect for you right then, right?
And Andrew, it still is.
Yeah.
My number one lead source is still referrals. I tell everyone what I do. I'm a broken record. So my buying brand, as you know, is My Wife Buys Mobile Homes. I wear a neon yellow shirt that says that anytime I'm in my local market, and the regulars at the meeting almost roll their eyes because I won't shut up. Every meeting, I talk about it because there's one new person there.
Yep.
At least. And they need to know what I do.
Oh, yeah.
Because they might come across a mobile home. Every realtor needs to know. Everyone needs to know, because that's how I help people.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. And you get leads and deals without sending thousands of postcards, without a huge website and what else do we do? Cold calling and texting, all these things. Your business is supported by referrals, by being intentional about telling people that you're here.
And consistent. I show up to pretty much every meeting. I'm not going to say I've never missed one, but I don't show up every 3 months, every 6 months. People forget about me.
Yeah.
I'm the broken record over and over and over.
I love it.
No matter what the topic is. Some people don't show up because, I'm not interested in notes. Well, you're still there to network.
Yeah, that's why I'm there. I'm there to meet people, right? I love that. Man, I love that. So So you're still in the game. What are you doing now? So let's fast forward. That was a few years ago. What are you doing now?
We're buying still today. We bought one last week. We buy the single units with the dirt. That's what we're doing. We're buying them and renting them.
Okay.
Now, I buy the scary ones to even the mobile home investors, the 1960s and 1970s. We like those, but recently the market's changed a little bit, and that little niche in my area has gotten more competitive. So I've bought what to me is very new, a 1999. Like some people still say, oh, that's still so old. Well, I actually own a 1999 now. Well, that's a brand new one to me. But the numbers worked. We're using the same formula. I am paying a little bit more for that. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit less ROI. I'm definitely paying more dollars.
Yeah.
But my return on investment's a little lower because I have a better end product already starting out with. And we're renting them. I'm a buy and hold investor. I like the money coming in every single month.
Yeah.
I'm not good at fix and flipping. There's lots of people that are great at it. I've done an accidental fix and flip. I respect it. I'm just not good at it. So I do what I'm good at.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, well, since I got you on the line here, and I told you if I had questions, I would call you. So I have a question. We have this mobile home deal. Let's talk about it. If this is what it looks like, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it, right? It's a house. It's a 1999. She has a mortgage on it still, so like we got to pay more than I really want to pay. So generally, we wouldn't pay more than $20,000 for a mobile home, right? Like pretty cheap stuff.
Okay.
But this is on land, an acre of land. We can get the land apart from it. She's renting it, but the owner will sell it to us. So if we got the whole package at $60,000, and now we know it'll rent for like $1,200. Those numbers are great, but it's a mobile home. So is it the same as valuing a house?
Because you have that 1999, it's a newer product. It is bank financeable. It's not the super easy bank financeable, but it is. I don't know in South Carolina the exact code for the tie downs and straps,
right?
But most likely that is up to code because in Florida, it's actually older than that is when they did the major code change. So you want to check the code no matter where you're at on that. I'll tell you, here's a question back at you. How much is the land worth? Because I look at that in this scenario. Is the land worth $30,000? Is it worth 60? Is it worth 10?
So the land is probably worth 15 to 20, which is what we think we can pay for it. Like, I don't think we'll get a discount on it. Maybe we haven't asked for the discount yet. The seller of the mobile home, the seller of the property has already said to the mobile home person, hey, we'll sell you this for this. So
is the mobile home and the land owned by the same person? Or are you buying both separate? Oh, okay.
So we have to
So you're looking to buy you're going to buy both though?
Yeah. So if we bought them both, we'd all in about 60.
So maybe to reword it a little bit, you were essentially going to buy a single unit mobile home park, so the dirt, and then you're going to have the home. So there's two separate kind of pieces going on here for people.
Yep.
I would definitely be looking at that as long as I like the dirt. That's a big piece of it because you can still get really strong winds where you're at if you had a big Cat 5 hurricane to come through.
Yeah.
And probably one of your biggest risks there. If you had a big tree leaning right over it, you have that big risk of that. But I want to see what my big risk of the home is. Okay. If it got flattened out and now all I own is this dirt. If I like that scenario, because it's not the biggest chance of that happening, but we want to play that out.
Right.
Then I would still go forward. I would most likely buy those numbers here where I'm at. Okay. I'll give you a similar one, the one that we just closed on last week. We're paid $97,000 for it.
Wow.
And that's a half an acre of land, a 1999. Mm-hmm. We're going to put $5,000 into it. Let's just say we have $10,000 between closing costs, repairs, and we're going to rent it $1,500 to $1,700, kind of in that range. I believe the land is worth $70,000. somewhere in those. So we're not real far off to what you're talking about. Now, where I'm at in my stage of the game, that's my lotto ticket, that dirt.
Yeah.
Would I have done this 3-4 years ago when I was building? No. This is a deal I would have wholesaled.
Right.
So if it's a newbie listening, doesn't mean you couldn't buy it. Maybe partner with someone like you that understands it.
Yeah.
But I would be that point in my life, I needed cash flow and less risk. You can take the risk if this one deal goes bad. I'm at the point now where I can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And my land is kind of in the path of progress. So I look at those as my lotto tickets. It's not the best cash flow in the world, but 10 years, maybe I get a big payout.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to, that's better than the lotto ticket the state runs.
Well, hey, it's a big jackpot right now. So that what I'm hearing you say is, all things considered, kind of if it's maybe not, your deciding factor is, how do you like the dirt? Is the dirt on the upswing, or is the dirt down a dirt road with the junkyard and bad neighbors and, the stuff out of the country where nothing's coming?
Yep.
So is that what I'm hearing?
That with the caveat of where am I at in my investing career, because that's going to help dictate some of that. And when we finish recording this and it produces, we're both going to be in a different spot then, because we change every day because circumstances change. So I think that's an important piece for people to get, especially when they're starting out. We tend to compare ourselves to people that already have it all, and we're buying different stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of that, you got the T-shirt on, and if y'all are listening to this, you can go over to the YouTube channel, the Deal Finders YouTube channel, to watch this, and you'll see his awesome neon green or yellow shirt, whatever that is. So can you tell everybody what that is, the Lifestyle REI? What is that?
So the Lifestyle REI is my education platform for me to be passing on, first of all, like happiness, smiles, and joy in people's businesses. That's one reason it's the bright neon yellow, to kind of insinuate sunshine, and I like attention. But it's where I'm teaching from my success, my failures, what I've actually done and did wrong, as we talked about, passing on what I learned from my mentors, what I learned from all over the country. Every time I get to speak somewhere, I get to learn there too. It's one of the benefits. And I'm teaching on what I actually do. So mobile homes is one of my biggest topics, and it's a lot of fun. I'm very intentional on where I speak, how I speak, and because it has to be fun as well as adding value.
Yeah, which is awesome, because remember, when you came here, you went and visited a friend that was sick, you hadn't seen for years. So like, your lifestyle is dictating where your business goes versus the opposite.
Exactly. So last year I traveled from April till October.
Yeah.
And every city I went to speak at, I had a friend in that city. I had some opportunities to go to other cities, and I basically kind of made them like they had to win me over. I'm like, I don't have any friends in that city. Why should I go? I'm not going to be as picky forever, but I'm intentional. I want to go and visit my friends.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I love that. We talked a lot about that, and I don't know if you still do it. I think you said you don't even have your cell phone on. You can't call you. It's like, when you want to work, you want to work. So guys, yes, you can't start the business. You can't jump into the business, especially entrepreneurial journey, with your cell phone off. But that can be the goal, right? As you're building your business, think about your lifestyle, and eventually the lifestyle can come first while the business is running. So I love that. We talked a lot about that while you were here, so I wanted to bring it up for everybody else. So back to the newbies, right? Back to people just getting started or growing this part of their business where they're actively looking for deals. What would be your one parting advice for that person that's trying to find a deal today?
Figure out what shiny object you like, because you're probably in the shiny object syndrome time. Set a time limit. I'm going to pick something by X date, and I don't think it should be longer than 6 months. Mm-hmm. And go with that topic for 6 months to a year, only that topic. And really, it was my theme of last year. Take massive, imperfect action and ask for help.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one reason we come to the REIAs. You know who the mobile home investors are. If that's the niche you pick, you take some classes on it. You go and you take a little action. You mess up a little bit. You go ask for help. You go back to your materials. You don't just say, oh, I messed up a little bit. I'm going to go to apartments. And then you mess up a little bit. You go over, like, we don't make progress there. We get really good at one thing. And then we can add on the second item, the third item, the fourth. But we got to get good at something first. And then you get known for it as well. So massive imperfect action and ask for help.
I love that. I love that. And do it and join that local meetup, the REIA, whatever it is, association, because that's where you can ask for help, right? I love that. All right, Adrian, this is where we're going to come to the end. Y'all, I know that there's been some incredible value here. I hope y'all were taking notes and listening to Adrian. Adrian, if they want to reach out to you or ask questions, where would our listeners find you?
You can find all my information at adrians360.com. So it's ADRIANS, then the numbers 360.com. And that has links to my books, my social media. A message is the best way to get a hold of me because, like you said, my phone is on Do Not Disturb indefinitely. So sending a message and help out as I can, and I'm here to help.
Awesome, man. Hey, guys, thank y'all for joining us on the Deal Finders podcast. I hope you got something out of this. And listen, if you are out there trying to find your next deal and you need some help, right? Go to that local meetup. You got to do it. But if you're looking for a community that may not be local, online, or you need some instruction, you want to go to our website, dealfindersclub.com. That way you can see what we have going on. We have some instruction there, and you can apply to be a part of our club, all right? So listen, we will see you on the next podcast. Again, thanks, Adrian, for joining us. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.